hope. The power went out, and even though I have things on backup battery, I guess I just realized that one thing I don't have on backup battery is the video camera. It plugs into an external USB, and that is not plugged into the backup battery. So we had a momentary power glitch. It didn't actually boost the stream, but I kind of was staring up at the air conditioner there, which was my indicator of whether the power's on or not, when it ended. So that's what you would have saw. A little bit weird. Okay, another lesson learned. Plug in the USB for next time to the backup battery. All right, so anyway, back to where we were. The LunchBot is what we're going to be doing today. And let's get right into the screen sharing here. So LunchBot's URL is located here, and the objective of it is to basically track whose turn it is to pay. The source code's got a bunch of stuff in it. As you'll see here, it says added a Quartz demo application. Go into that momentarily. Let's talk about some of the stuff there. But well, let me hit the site that we want to go to here. So I've got my notes up. I'll grab the URL for the Discord NuGet that I'm using. It's discord.net, and this is making your first bot. So I went through this documentation, which is pretty decent, and build my first bot, a little hello world, and then trying to modify it from there. Eventually I want to move it over into my own template, which is where I started. This here is based off of the Time Warp template. The one we're running right now is this Discord bot sample. And this default console application up here is where I was debugging and testing this Quartz scheduler. So we have lunch every Friday, and I want to be able to send out that information and update the status after Friday. So I'm using a Discord, or not Discord, I'm using that Quartz scheduler as a means of doing that. And we can look at that real quick, but instead let's just fire this up and see if I have, let's just go over the beginning. Start at the beginning. So also I wanted some persistence, so I've added some SQLite database to it. So starting with the basic program that you get from their page, they have all their little comments as they go. I've deleted some, but excuse me. Discord socket client. This is the program. This is where we're going to start. This is the constructor actually inside the program. Setting up the log level, we turn on the command service, and they store this command service in a class variable so we can reuse it. We're attaching two events, so the Discord log event and command service are setting up this log function, which is here, which doesn't really do much, just logging, changing the color of this or that to the console is what that's for. Alright, so there's a set up the logs. Here we're going to come down and do configure services. So I want to change this around to use dependency injection in a standard way. .NET Core 3 is about to come out any day now, so the template's a little bit different. My template is based on a .NET Core 3. I want to migrate to that, but this one is not currently the one that their demo is. So I do use some singletons here. Because I'm going to reuse these things. I had to register these items inside the DI because I'm actually using it in the Quartz injector. But let's not talk about the Quartz thing just yet, which is this configure scheduler. Here's your ensure database, but handle commands async is a part of the default, which what it does is when you connect this up, let's see, where's the reference? Just connected up right here. So there's an event handled in the Discord socket client. So basically, anytime a message we receive, we're going to fire off this event. I want to change this a little bit in the future, but right now we're just going with this is pretty much the default. Looks out and says, is this current user right here? We don't want the bot to respond to itself or other bots, so we're just basically checking to see if that's not the case. Looking for a prefix, and we left it with the default again, the bang, or you can actually mention yourself or the bot. If you mention the bot, that will come through as a command as well. And what we do is we go through this command service and we do execute. So you register these commands through these modules over here. And I think the default one is a demo one. It includes something called say, which is just an echo bot. Let's go here, lunch module, and we'll reply right here. So inside the lunch module, you have a command. They're using attributes to define these things. There's a summary here. It's best that I can tell, this summary attribute does nothing other than create an attribute with the message on. So you could parse through your attributes on side your type information and gather this information out of it at runtime and build yourself a Discord bot help. That seems to be the normal way they're doing it and the concept. I don't particularly like it. I think with the console app that we've done, the Time Warp template app, where we actually can parse the XML doc headers and build it. I think I can reuse that to build my own help. Actually, I think I can turn Discord into almost like a terminal and let it run commands that way. But I've left everything pretty much the way the demo was, so we don't get too carried away. And all this is going to do is reply async. So if I go to when you first thing set this up, you have to register your token. Go to the Discord and get your token in order to connect. Let's see, where is that thing? Configure scheduler. Where is it? Where is it? Nonetheless, I'm pulling it out of an environment variable. Is how I set it up, so that you don't put your API key in the source code and check it into GitHub. Hopefully I haven't done that. We're using an environment variable somewhere in this thing. Somewhere. Key. Find key. It's not the word key. Not there either. Token. Scheduler, I know it's nothing to do with that. Handle command async. Initialize the commands. There you go. Jeez, wasn't so hard. Main async. Which, with the new way, we could just do this straight up as the async in the main on the new version in 3.0, but can't do that on this one, or this was made with the old way. But nonetheless, I'm pulling that environment variable out of the Discord token here, and then you tell this Discord client to run and start async here, and then you're basically telling it. No, you're not basically. You are telling it to run forever, delay forever, because this socket's going to be continuing to listen and firing off the events. I think this would be better as a hosted service, and I'm going to do some stuff with hosted services, well, with a scheduler for one, the Quartz thing that we're talking about, or the alternative is Hangfire. So I want to look into those as hosted services for my console apps, or even for web apps for that matter, which would be pretty nice. But let's get to the point. Let's get Discord fired up here. New audio devices detected. Don't switch. I don't care. That's because the power went off and back. The streamer mode is enabled. Stay safe, my friend. Let's see. I'm checking the stream to see what shows up and what doesn't show up. I'm not sure why it does that, but anyway, you'll see that I ran this command the last time, the .NET status, and I'm getting object reference not set to an instance of an object. But let's try this say option. Say hello world. See what happens for that. Hey, you saw the hello world come back. It fired me over here to not exactly sure why it fired twice. That's an interesting question. But nonetheless, it did. We saw that. Okay, so if we type in anything, we put a breakpoint here in our handle messages. Command there. Where did it go? Handle to command async here. Alright, so no matter what we type in, no matter what message you have, it's going to end up, because I'm connected to this particular channel on this server, this is just my server, and I'm just doing things inside this bot test. But if I type in Joe, see, we're going to hit this, and the socket message is going to come in, and we're going to be able to see. Oh, we don't need to do that. Just step over here. Be able to see what the message is. So there's the basic message. So it tells you who the user was that sent it, what the message was, and then the ID. So here it says the author ID. Got that information. Current user and their ID. Is the author a bot? No, because I'm sending that from a personal account. So this here, picking up the positions, trying to go look for, does it have this character? It does not. So it says, forget it. It's not intended for me. So it has to start with the bang in order for it to think it's a real command. Okay, so we let it go, continue to do its thing. So now let's try bang, say again. Say hello. Maybe we can figure out why it ran twice. So here's handle command async. This time, it's going to get inside here because it does have a bang. And now we're going to do a create command. It's going to look for this. It's going to look for, do I have anything that can handle this particular thing? Now let's make sure I have a breakpoint. Oh, I do have a breakpoint in that say command. So it's defined here. Yep, here's the breakpoint. So now it says execute. It's going to go over here and find it, and all that does is reply async with a echo. Let's go look and see. So Lunchbot's already returned a hello. I don't know why. Where did the first hello come from? I'm not sure. And then this here is going to make him do it again. I believe. Yep, 116, 117. He said hello, hello. Why is that happening twice? That's a good question. I bet we've probably got, I copied one, I bet I've got another command in here that does the same thing. Let's go search for command say. Command say, find all. Nope, Lunch modules, the only one that says he has a command say. So why would he do it twice? String echo, reply echo. Some more from the demo thing, this user information. Let's try it. Let's continue to run here. And let's do bang user info. That way we can try that other command and see if it runs twice. fix socket context and now execute. Let's just make sure. Oh, I know why. I know why. I know why it does it twice. Because I have my startup to actually run the LunchBot. Because it needs to be running so that it will actually work. So I actually have the LunchBot connected twice. So if I kill this guy, my other instance running on my machine versus the debug version, now we should solve this problem. And it's going to give us an unknown command. Again, right. Let it continue to run. Okay, now we can know why it's doing that. Bang, say, and say test 1, 2, 3. And good, it's not showing it up twice. So now we're going to reply echo test 1, 2, 3. Okay, and it only did it once. All right, good. When you run 2 instances, it does everything twice, which is interesting. So if you actually wanted to run scalability on a bot, you need to determine which bot handles something. So you would want to pop something out of a queue in order to do it. Otherwise, every bot's going to respond back. So you have 3 of them listening on the same channel. All 3 of them are going to respond back the same thing. So you just get duplicates. Okay. So the one thing we wanted to do, we've got a lot of this code already done, but I have, I'm going to clean up some stuff, but I have some status that I want to run in this application module. So when you run the command status, it should show up. It should show up in here. Show next lunch info. Task name is terribly named because I probably copied and pasted it from that. So let's just rename that to status. Because this is what comes out of the command. I think I'm going to get rid of these attributes, the summary and the command. Why not just name the command the same as the task? But we'll see how that plays out over time. So here's the status. What's he going to do? He's going to come into the LunchBot DB context. He's going to pull out the first application, which should be one. String, going to populate this. Lunch will be blah, blah, blah at this, and will be here. Whose turn to pay? So he's going to put a breakpoint there. Stop this. When I stop it, we can go back to Discord and confirm that I think LunchBot should leave the room. I don't know how fast it updates this. Say I'm new to Discord. Say hi. Yeah, I guess so. It still shows LunchBot online, even though LunchBot is not online. Let's make sure. He's not really online because I killed the other. This here method is actually Selenium server running for other reasons, but so not online. But I guess this doesn't update too quick. It does tell you that I'm streaming. All right, so I don't know. Anyway, he's not online. Let's run this again. Now that we've made the status change, I'm going to put a breakpoint here, and I should be able to just put in bang status to get into this method. And then we'll figure out, I think we get a null reference pointer or something, didn't we? So we'll see why that happens. Go, come on. Streamlabs sucks the life out of your machine. I mean, it's definitely processor intensive. So I think if I was going to do this, if I'm going to do this for real and could make some money off of it, it would make sense to actually do your streaming from a separate PC. For now, with my massive audience, it's not really worth it. I'm just trying to learn some tools, make some content, and start to for my own personal and my Freeze Team group experience. So that's what we're doing right now. All right, so over here, you can see it says gateway's connected. Now he's ready. This other stuff up here is talking about is the quartz thing. We'll get to that in a minute. All right, so I'll get my Discord guy back up. Let's see if bang status will hit my breakpoint. This is the top level handle command everything. Let's let it continue and see if it gets into the there, and it does. All right, so Lunchbox DB context, does it exist? It does, but looks like, okay, we pulled back an application. The application has application IDs, ID, Lunchbox, or Lunchbox's name, next location is null, next time is this, and version is this, and who's to pay is null. All right, so one should be able to answer why that is the case. Because we're using Entity Framework Core, we pull back an application, we want to reference two other objects. The answer to why it is null, and we're going to get a null exception here on this, right? Because next location is null. Even though in the database, which we can look at the database browser here, drag that over here, you'll see that next location has an ID, and who to pay has an ID, so why are these things null? Well, it's in the framework, and we didn't tell it to pull back the additional object. I do tell it that someplace in this thing. Oh, I'm doing some location. I'm telling it somewhere else. Oh, I know, in the scheduler, the scheduling event that I do, I pull it back. So let's go look at that real quick. I'm going to steal that after lunch job here, and you're going to get the same include, or the same expression. So, note to self, task that we can add. Matter of fact, let me write it down inside of my notes. Put a to-do or a checklist item in here. And it's going to be Ardalis has been working on the specifications. Use EF specification from Ardalis to capture duplicate queries. I guess to capture queries, they don't really have to be duplicate, but the point would be is so it's easy to reuse. So I copy this guy here. If I had a specification, I could just say use this specification, which would be a little bit better than copy and paste. But for expediency's sake and moving on, or not, that looks like it tabs and indents too much, but I guess not. Alright, so we go here, dot include. What is it complaining about there? And this must be looking for using Entity Framework Core. Yep, alright. So now we should be able to get back the items, not only the object that you requested, but the things that are on it too. So I want to pull back this next location object and this who pays object. My variable names here don't follow my naming convention. That is an application object, so the naming convention should be like this. I know often it's apparent what that parameter is, but I just a few minutes ago looked on ASP.NET Core for a bug issue, and somebody put in there a single letter character, and me and another associate were looking at it, and I'm like, well, what is that thing? And it's just not obvious, so why not make it obvious? We write code for humans to read now, not for computers. Computers can do it pretty well and optimize out any of our verbosity. Is it verbosity? Verbosity? I don't know. All right, so next, let's kill this and start over again. And next time we come back in, we should have the objects and maybe the status will work. Now, I apologize, I haven't had lunch yet, so the lady down at the market makes these little barbecue things. They're just barbecue on a stick that are just wonderful. So, I'm going to be a little informal and munch on some barbecue while we're entertaining my massive audience. Okay, let's go back into Discord. Copy this and paste this. That should fire us off back into the debugger. Step through that, and now let's step over this query and take a look at the application object now. Yay! So next location you notice now is populated because we told it to include that. And the who pays is populated, and great, tells Ross he has to pay. We should just hard code that. All right, it's open source though, so Ross can validate the code to see if I can. Actually, Ross has a Python version of this Discord bot, so we're gonna have a little dueling bot competition here. Okay, so this message should come out looking half decent, I hope. Didn't crash, right? Lunch will be Friday, June 14th, 2019 at Namnoa 2. It will be Ross's turn to pay. That's pretty good to me. Now we're going to do this embed builder, which what the heck's an embed? Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but we'll see it, what it's actually doing. It's taking the title, so it's actually giving this information from here, right, this next location. But you'll see what it looks like when we let it continue. So this thing down here at the bottom is the embed. So looks pretty good. Lunch will be Friday, June 14th, 2019. Now song. It will be Ross's turn to pay. And this is now a song here. Has a link, and that will pull open. If you let it, that will pull open the browser, taking you to the location of where that restaurant is. So you can be able to find it right there. That's about right. So if you guys want to come join us on Friday, that's where we'll be. Most likely. Okay, so I would say that my status looks pretty good. Not too bad. Now, given this is just a lunch bot, we don't have to concern ourselves too much with enterprise level activity. So don't beat me up if I don't have the best air checking. Matter of fact, I normally my default has tests for mine, but there's no tests for this guy yet. So they're manual. But anyway, today's fun day. All right, so what other requirement do I have? So there you go. That wasn't too much, right, to add this command. You just basically throw this in there. And, oh, I've dependency injected the database context through here. That had to be registered, as you saw a minute ago, in the startup. Right here, configure services. Oops. Not the startup. I want to move it out into a startup, but if I can. But that's why that created the file, but I don't actually use it yet. It's still over here in the configure services. Someplace we have configure services. Control find DB context. Configure. Where the heck do I do this? Program. I type configure it wrong? Configure. I must have. Okay, because right there it is. Configure services, and I'm adding in Lunchbot DB context there. So that's how it gets registered with the container. Now, is there any other status that I want to do as far as a command goes? Let's go over the location module that I wrote the other day. So what this is doing is we've got something called locations, and then so I'm pretty much exposing like a web API through Discord, and this is locations list. Like, what are locations that we're currently capable of using? The database contains a handful. Right, so we've got 6 different ones. One of them is missing a URL, one of them is disabled. Right, so Nam Nua Song, Plateau Seafood, Bansuan, Rompon. What the heck is that? I don't even remember. Raw Center does data. JJ's is and Cafe Del Mar. So anyway, we should be able to execute that command. What did I tell it? Bang location. Let's double check. Did I do bang location or? So it's in a group, so they get prefixed with this. Actually, I aliased it to location or locations, so it doesn't matter if I get it right. And then I say list. Let's see the magic happen. Say go. So we're in list location, so it gets to the command anyway, and let it run. Notice the little pause. I think it's like gives you like some sort of rate limit. I could dump all of that in one message as opposed to 6 different messages. But to be honest with you, I would need a collection of embeds, and I couldn't figure out how to do that right off the top of my head. I'm like, I don't really care that much. But if there was 1,000 of these things, we probably would care and want it to be a little quicker. So the messaging took a little break there at 5. Notice that the last one is the one that was disabled, so it's scratched off or showed as strike marked through. I do that with Markdown actually. So strike string right here is set up based on if it's enabled or not, and I put the strike string around this because this title actually supports Markdown. Well, kind of supports Markdown, not all of Markdown. You can't do links in Markdown or you wouldn't need this embed. But it does support some Markdown. And that is the way you do a strike through, is this squiggly squiggly. And here's the channel. So all it does is it builds up this embed for each item in the database. And there you have it, right? Send out this message. Which is just, there's no message, it's just an embed that it sends out. This here parameter doesn't make any sense. I don't exactly, I just always set it to false. I'm not exactly sure. Is TTS. I don't even know what it does. I'd have to look that up in the docs or change it to true and see if I can tell the difference. TTS, that's like security, right? Not sure. Okay, so we could actually add, so you see this command here for add? The summary is totally wrong, which just tells you where I copied it from. Alias user, we don't care. Alias who is, we don't care. Matter of fact, don't care about any of these aliases. So command add, and let's put this up here like this. What we would do is add in a new location, which all we need to take would be the name and the title. So that could be an option to add. Currently, they've just been added in when I initialize the database, which frankly is just about fine as far as I'm concerned. So the other tricky thing is on Friday fire something, and that's what the scheduler has done for me. Let's go add, so this was done for locations. Now, other thing in the database that we might want to look at is who are the people. So there's only 3 tables in there, well, other than the meta tables. And there's only Steve and Ross in there at the moment. We could add more, but let's go create a command, and we're basing them on the entity. So this is the location module. So let's just make one called person module. These are commands that we can do on a person on that table. Actually, that entity person module. .cs. I've turned off edit and continue because I get tired of that dialogue popping up. So I'm going to stop the debugger. Alright, so person module, you've got a location module. We're going to do almost identical to this kind of thing. Let's clean up some non-used usings as well. So, see location module as a group like that. So we're going to take that over here, person module, we're going to do the same. Let's clean up these usings again. I like my usings inside my namespace. I don't know, symmetry just makes me feel better, and it shortens the distance of usings. There's more to it than that, but not much. Okay, so there's using the Discord command, so we got that. Now, there's the person module, so we should probably persons. We can put as many aliases as we want, so we can do people. You can spell it. Alright, so there's that. Now, format. Let's go back over here and let's look at the rest. What do we do to pull in a command? So we're going to need to inject, right? So we want to inject this particular item. We're going to do it like this. We're just going to copy the property that we're going to want to inject, and then we're going to use this great feature inside of Visual Studio. See that? Generate constructor. And we're going to say, yep, use that Lunchbot DB context. And we did. It doesn't even know what it is, but it didn't matter. It still built it correctly. Almost correctly, as in I want to fix my naming violation on that. I prefix everything with an A, and the reason why I do that is because it's quite often that I want to reuse a variable inside with the same name. So I've got Pascal case as my class, lowercase is my local, and prefix with an A as a parameter. Some people don't like it. All I recommend is that you have an editor config that puts whatever you want and agree to on your particular projects, and then the compiler can enforce your coding standards for you, which is just absolutely beautiful, in my opinion. Okay, so now, what's that complaining about? Can't be removed because it's never read. Well, yeah, well, that's because we haven't got around to reading it yet. Alright, so that same thing we have here, we're going to just take that same command, copy, oops, Control Tab, not Alt Tab, and we're going to put that inside this guy. Alright, so the list is going to be the same. I don't really need a comment. What's the point in having all this? Don't need that. Alright, so now this is going to be list people. I typically don't reference anything with changed Perl. I'd call it persons. Not my fault, the language was invented or evolved poorly without consistent semantics. Alright, so location. I don't care about locations at this point. And where did the... Oh, there's LunchDB context, and I don't want that. I want persons, right, for each person. And we're going to name that same thing, person, in the lunchbox for each person in lunchbox DB context.persons. And that doesn't look like it's included, so let's go add in those. Okay, so strike through. We don't currently have enable the person, but it would make sense, right? So if when Max comes back from Canada and he wants to play, right, then we could add him into this, and when he leaves, we can disable it because it's no longer there. He's no longer here, so we could do that. That doesn't exist right now. An embed doesn't make much sense, I don't think. What we could do though is we could put their user ID in so that I can actually pick out Ross's user ID and my user ID. So you see, got it down here. Well, normally have it down here. Copy. Let's see if it copies it in. Guess not. Copied something else besides what I wanted. Anyway, I could get this user ID. Maybe because you're streaming, it doesn't. Maybe it hides it. Anyway, I can update the database to include our user IDs, and then we would have the mention for them so that they can directly mention, say, hey, it's your turn to pay this week. Right, but for now, let's just go through and iterate and do one string that comes out. So we're not going to do an embed. Embed was what we needed in order to make that little URL pop out the way it did. I don't care about the strike string at this point because except we don't have that enable feature yet. What do I want? I want message. Let's go with that. So string message is equal to this person dot name. Right? Let's take string message out of here. Copy. Go up here. Like that, and then say message plus, add that to it every time. And what do we put in? Let's put a carriage return line feed kind of deal. Message equals message plus. And then here we're going to say message. All right, now embed builder. I think all these fields are optional, so I can't get away with this. Not sure what context even is. Wait, message context. Why is that complaining? Because I probably need something else to get that to work. So let's go look at the other one. Where is context? Oh, looks like we inherit from module base, and I'm not doing that. Socket command context. So let's go fix that. Person module. Yep, forgot that. Module base. Now context shows up. What's this complaining about? Use compound assignment. Represents text. Oh, it's going to fix it for me. It wants the plus equals, which totally makes sense. But now what's message complain about? Local variable, use of unassigned local variable, unassigned local variable message. We want to get this out of here. And there's that. Still complaining about an unassigned local variable. Oh, that's just saying that it wasn't initialized. Equal to null. Not null. That's not null. Empty string. And control ED. paste. Okay, so will this work for listing the persons involved? Yes, it will. So you can do, interestingly enough, with an API, web API or like a REST-like, you could probably build the same set of commands and expose those all to Discord, a Discord user. There's a little bit of interfacing that needs to go on, but I think I could probably generically make that happen, which would be kind of interesting, right? So if you have web API, you could just expose it to your Discord channel. What would be the benefit of such a thing? I'm not exactly sure, other than, hey, cool, I can list everything right in here. All right, let's test it, see if this runs. Also, I leave now at 2:30, so these sessions are going to go about an hour and a half because I've started going to the gym. Now I've got 1 week under my belt, and I moved to Thailand and I got lazy, so now it's time to get back to that. I've joined, we built a new gym in town, Calm Gym. So when you guys come over to visit me, all my audience, you can come work out at the Calm Gym. It's really nice. Not real big, but for a small town, it's super nice. All right, run it, test it, see if we can do person list command. Remember that the person or the top here, any of these three should work as the group. So you get into the group and then you tell it the specific command underneath by this. Alright, it's going to kick off, and again, it's normally not this slow, but because we're streaming, it becomes quite slow. Alright, so bang tells us we're going to do a command, and then person is what we want, and we want the list of those people. And Lunchbot, there he shows up connected. You see him pop up right here just a second ago. So now he should be listening. Let's see what he tells us. Hey, looky there, Stephen Ross. So success on that. So we can list the locations. Notice this is one message, and this was 6. Did it that way because of these embeds. I believe I can just put the URLs in the message themselves with the name, and they do show up. Matter of fact, if I scroll up far enough, you'll see an original version of that, of what those look like. Because as I was debugging them, so here's one where I put it in one way. Oh, I tried to use Markdown, which is square brackets with that to make a link. That didn't work. But here you see, if you actually just throw the URL in there, it actually figures out where it is and puts in the Google link. Of course, some of them you can't read because they're in Thai, unless you can read Thai. I can, kind of. All right, so that's what it could look like. So I just put them in there like that, but I thought it got awful long. I wanted the URL to be, I just wanted the name to have the URL on it. And I can't figure out how to get that to work except for those embeds. And I just didn't really, yeah, I don't like all the noise. So I switched to this. This is with the embeds. Even though they're a little slow. Okay, so I've got, Friday is the unveiling for Ross on this bot. What else do I want to do? Let's do an ad. I wonder what happens. How do you mention somebody? Oh, if they put their ID in there, then that would send a mention to them. So whoever's listing the persons doesn't really need to know what their ID is, I guess. So that's good enough. All right, let's do an ad. Add a person. Just for fun, why not? Okay, so there's list. Let's create another command. Now we should already have like an add command on our API, right? If we actually had a web API, we were doing this at an enterprise-y level. We already have that someplace. And what I would like to do is just parse through those commands and build up. Don't even actually have to do any of this stuff inside of your specific Discord. You basically can just point it to a collection of commands and responses and say, turn those into Discord commands. I think that's doable with a little bit of reflection. Shouldn't be too hard. Okay, so this is going to be add person. All right, and what am I going to do? I'm going to need a DB context. So I'm going to say new x var person equals new person, and that new person is going to have a couple properties on it. I think this person object is going to be, yeah, this probably should come in like this. Let's go look. How is person done? He's actually set up like he's not an immutable entity, which that's fine. The entity, that makes sense. I'm getting confused with my UIs. Okay, so anyway, we're going to set the name. It's going to be equal to whatever variable we got passed in here, right? So this should be just a string, a name, and then this name equals whatever the name that got passed in, right? And then there's that, and then we should be able to say lunchbot db context dot persons dot add. Put in the new person. Right, so go in there, get it a second, and then get rid of all this. Okay, and then this will be the first time I've tried this, actually doing an update to the database. Everything's been a read, lunch db context dot save changes. And we should send out a message saying that string message is equal to, and what is it? What is it going to be equal to? Person dot name was added. Person dot name was added, and then we send the message out to there like that. Okay, not a whole lot to it. I need to change the name to add, right? Okay, so how do I declare, how does it know there's a parameter? I've got something that says parameter. The say thing had a parameter on it, right? The demo one takes a parameter. Remainder. The heck is remainder? Marks the input to not be parsed by the parser. Oh, okay, so it tells everything. Here's the text, the summary for that thing. All right, so we should probably do the remainder as well. So if they want to put in, they wanted to put in a new name that has like their first and last name, I guess. So that's all you do, I guess, is add those in. We have the flow front. Throw that in there. This would be name of a new person. Okay, that's there, and this should work, right? Should work. it a whirl. Give it a whirl. Throw that out there. No unit tests, nothing. This is just fun time, just trying to learn. But I do see how these bots could become quite practical for a means of information. Considering that the phone line is full of spam, considering my email is full of spam, we have 20,000 ways to communicate with each other, but we ignore them all because they're all full of spam. So the chat channel seems to be the most attentive thing that I pay attention to. Although I have Slack and I have Discord and I have Skype and I have blah, 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 right? WhatsApp, Messenger, yeah, I have a ton of them. But that is, I at least get to pick who the people are on it, right? I can filter and ignore, so forth, so that's good. So let's test the ad, and after that we'll talk a little bit about person ad. Let's see, Richard. Let's make him pay. Let's make it always at Richard. And let's see what it does. It says person Richard was added, so to test that, we should be able to. Look, I'm trying to do up arrow to get back to like a console window. Should be able to do paying person list. And lo and behold, there it is. Okay, so now the trick would be on Friday, after Friday, will it update? Will it update all of the particular settings? So that means it's going to give me the next restaurant. So I'll show you how that's working. Right now we have Quartz, and I'm thinking Quartz I just found actually. I'd never used it before. But there is another library, Hangfire, that I have used a long time ago, or at least demoed at Marathon. I found this guy about, I shouldn't say a long time ago, maybe 5-6 years ago. Long time ago if you're 7, right? That looks pretty good. So I might want to go ahead and try to see how I can integrate this. And maybe it supports hosted services already, which if you haven't studied the hosted services, those are quite nice. It's like saying, hey, go fire up this web server inside my console app. You could totally do that, or multitudes of things. You can share your DI container amongst them as well. I don't claim to be an expert, but I stretch the imagination. I just started playing with them myself. But maybe we could do that with this Hangfire, which also is a scheduler. But currently, I've got this schedule set up inside a program using Quartz. Oh, actually, let's go talk about that hosted service. So when I found Quartz, hosted service was my first thought. And of course, I can't have an original thought. My buddy Andrew Locke here, using scope services inside of Quartz.net hosted service with ASP.NET Core. So I subscribed to his blog and I hadn't read it yet, otherwise I would have been ahead of the game and I would have already known that he'd done it. But anyway, he goes through and using Quartz and wraps it with the hosted service. So this is something that I want to review as well. And I think I want to go with Hangfire. I'm not exactly sure why, but a couple people on the DevBetter group that I'm in, similar to the Freeze team, that's Ardalis, our mentor. Steve Smith, Ardalis is who that is. He's our mentor. But anyway, a couple guys in the group also have used Hangfire. And like I said, I used it some time ago, and I really liked it back then, but it's been 5 years, I don't remember. But if I go through this and play with it, we'll see It's a free open source up to a point, and then the batches and batch continuations are pro. What is the price? Let's take a look at the price of Hangfire. I don't know how much it costs. So batches and the other stuff turn into like organizational things, and therefore they get more expensive. So $500 per year, $1,500 per year, $4,500 per year. Now let's talk about that price for a moment. Some people want to go, oh my God, that's expensive, because we developers look at it and go, man, I can't afford to pay that. But who are you working for, and what do you make an hour? So if you look at that and say $500 right there, I'm going to tell you at my rate, that's 5 hours. So if this thing can save me 5 hours, that's not very long. I mean, we can barely create a couple DTOs. Last week we created like a couple DTOs in an hour and a half, right? So 5 hours, we can't write this app. So we can't write it for $4,500 either if we want all of these features. This is perpetual license. This isn't. Oh no, it's perpetual, but it is per year. So you have to factor in the time value of money as well, right? But nonetheless, those prices aren't ridiculous. On the other hand, they aren't free. So if we go to the Quartz scheduler, I do believe that this is free. I don't think there's any way. Right, here's the donate button, so you can donate money. Quartz was originally a Java project, and it was cloned over to the .NET version, so there's the Quartz Net, but it's available and maintained pretty well. Let's see, there's a bunch of commits. When was the last commit? Probably not maintained like every day, because it's pretty feature complete. But there you go, March 19th, 2019. So a couple months ago, they had a pull request to fix some things. Here in February, January. So not huge. Looks like in January you actually did quite a bit. My guess is .NET Core 3 comes out. They may come back and take some advantages of some of the new features or something like that. But nonetheless, that's maintained. Hangfire also is free for the base piece and also open source. So Hangfire has a dashboard also that I think is pretty easy to implement. But nonetheless, there we go. So we've done a list, we've done an ad, we've gone over the status. What do we want to do next? Oh, we were talking about the job, right? So after lunch job, that's what I've called this guy. Oh, that's when it actually fires and runs the job. But what makes it fire is set up in the schedule. So let's talk about that. When we initialize, again, this is just a Quartz. We just set up a little schedule here that says, here's your scheduler, here's the job factory. The job factory is set up so that you can use dependency injection to create your jobs, which I want because I'm going to use a DB context in there. I want to inject that. Well, I want dependency injection most of the time. That is the paradigm we operate under. So here's a job detail we're going to create. Passes in some identity. All right, so now this trigger kicks off. What do we do here? Day of the week on Friday. See, I'm asking you to do it at 3 o'clock. See that? Trigger the job every Friday sometime after lunch, say 3 o'clock. But I don't see the 3 o'clock in there. I don't see the 3 o'clock in there, so that could be improved. Now here, look at this. I guess that's not apparent, so I typically don't use vars. I like them to be what they are. That's why you have the squiggly. All right, so days of the week, it's on Fridays. Every Friday it should trigger with the schedule. And how can I test that? Right, and I mean by that, I mean manually test it. Given today is Wednesday and not Friday, we could test a bunch of things. So it's a job factory, it's going to fire. Yeah, so let's figure out how do I set it at a time. Actually, it's 2:09, we don't have a whole lot of time, so we've got 20 minutes left. I need to figure out how to schedule that for 3 o'clock on a Friday, on days of the week. Maybe you do that with the cron thing, I don't know. On days of the week, on Monday, on Saturday. How about at? Starting daily at, ending daily at? Don't know. Don't know. Let's have to go look at Quartz. And let's just say Quartz.net every Friday at 5 at, let's just say every Friday at. And this should show up what somebody's going to teach us. So here's a cron trigger on Quartz. Schedule Quartz triggers and executes once a week. All right, that's once a week, but what time? How does he set the one time? Starting daily at, on days of the week. I guess starting daily at will do it for me, maybe. Let's see, that's the question. Maybe we should get in the, the guy uses the cron scheduler, which is, cron's great, but what does that mean right there? You know, I know if you're a Linux guy and you've been doing cron tabs forever, it's obvious, but I'd just soon have the Fluent style tell me what it is. All right, so what is he saying up here? One thing I would do, be sure, is use Quartz.net as work. One thing I would do is be sure that using Quartz.net is worth it. Have a look at this question. The answer is quite helpful. It's worth it. He's questioning probably the performance of Quartz or something. What features of Quartz.net do you need? Why are you using it instead of using a simple console application with Microsoft Task Scheduler? Blah, 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 because it stays alive and it runs all the time. Task Scheduler would fire up another thing, and so it's sending a message. This is all in process, it's fine, not a big deal. Just want to create a weekly schedule using Quartz.net. Why am I using it instead of using a simple console application, which is a long story? Yeah, why do you care? That's not the question. He's asking how to do this. Sorry for the late answer. I solved the problem by applying the sample mentioned on this page. Let's go to this page and see. Okay, so similar thing. I actually like this syntax here better. That's on every day, starting daily at. Parsing function, I don't know what the heck is doing. Execute schedule with Quartz and Visual Start now with interval 24 hours, whatever. And job detail trigger with identity. Start now with schedule. Daily, at, hour, and minute. Well, that's the cron schedule builder, so that should be indented, I think. With misfire handling and instruction fire and proceed in time zone, blah, blah, blah. Dot build scheduler dot schedule job. I've used for months on IIS without any problems. On the other hand, for IIS-based triggered problems, have a look at my answer. Of course, I did scheduler. Mobile SAX, so this is old. Execute. Okay. Okay, so schedule builder weekly on day and hour and minute. Day of week, comma, Monday, hour and minute. Looks like the way they handle that. No other way to do it, I guess. You have to use this cron. You use a cron string or explicit like this. You have to tell it which time zone you're in. Find system time zone by ID. With misfire handling instructions, fire and proceed. Misfire instructions, fire now. Do not fire if the firing is with misfire handling instructions, do nothing. I don't even know exactly what that does, but this looks like what you have to do to make the schedule. So let's try that. Okay, so this should have worked, right, to fire on every Friday, but I don't know when it would fire. Let's go look at on days of week, new day of week, days of week, Friday. New day of week, array. Alright, so that's going to be an array. Let's look at the parameters on this. Maybe it'll have a system collection area having only day of week on days of week, or array. Okay, so nothing with the time. Yeah, okay, fine. Wasn't it with schedule? With interval in hours, minutes, seconds, with misfire handling, blah, 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 with repeat count. On the schedule. Something to do with schedule, wasn't it? Oh crap. Just go back over and copy the thing. Okay, so start at new date time. Does that work? He shows that as a schedule. It does say that works. What if I just said start at and I put in 2019, right? I'm assuming this is the month, day, 12, and 220. 2 would be 14. Let's just leave it 19 if I can get it done fast enough. Okay, so start at, wait, now it's complaining. Does not contain a definition for start at, no accessible extension method. Didn't turn red right away, so I thought it was going to work. Trigger builder with identity. Oh, that was the scheduler. So with identity, start at with schedule on Friday. So this is the night at 19. I don't know where it gets his. I don't know where it gets his times. I guess that's going to be system time. So let's see if this runs. All right, so this is going to be scheduled job. That's going to be after lunch job. Boom, 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 boom. After lunch job is going to have an execute. It's going to be right there. I'm going to breakpoint that and go back. And I'm about to miss it if I don't have it running here in a second. So So let's fire this thing up and see if this will start at, maybe it starts at gives it a time, and every Friday it'll do the same time. I don't know. Given it's not Friday, though. This could be a problem. If you guys know, writing tests based on time, you have to change the time, right? Which kind of stinks, because date time, yeah, they ought to have a time interface on it anyway, and then have a provider for it, right? I'm guessing Skeet's Note of Time could probably do everything for me. All right, so am I running? I think I am running. Okay. Job factory is set. And the 19 came and went. Currently on standby mode, number of jobs executed using the thread pool. Alright, so let's try this again. We're going to leave this called on Friday, but we're going to make it Wednesday. And then I'm going to change this to year, month, day, hour, minute, second. So let's go to the minute here and change it to 22, just to make sure I'm safe. And that should start it off, and it'll be Wednesday on the 22nd, 22 minutes. We're going to leave at 8. So if this works, we're going to be happy about that. Then hang fire, I'll come back and visit at some other time. Get this all cleaned up. Maybe I could even make a Discord bot template that simplifies the creation of commands from mediator commands. All right, so we're at 21 there. I think I've got after lunch jobs set up here. So you should be able to see if it's going to fire. Number of jobs with 3 threads, which is this. So let's see if it does anything. It looks like right there at 2:22 it fired off. All right, step through it. Nice. Okay, so the quartz thing at least works, and that time seemed to do the right job. Okay, so now I'm going to go through here and I'm going to say, give me an application object with that same query, by the way. We need to turn into a specification. Now, what did it ask? If datetime.now is greater than the application next time. Ah, crap, our application next time isn't greater than that. So it's not going to go and try to, so if it was past next time, which is actually on Friday, which is the correct time, if it was past that, then we go into the locations, persons. Okay, so we pull those back, pull those lists. You're going to set the next location to some random one, and then you're going to set the next time. We could iterate through the locations as well. Next time is going to be a get next weekday, which is a helper method that I've got in the extensions there. So it's going to say, go give me the next Friday from whatever time I am, right? One after this one. Okay, so then who pays is going to be the next after. So there's a collections of this. So I'm going to there's a list of people, and then who pays would be inside that list. And this would say the next one after this one. So the current one in there is Ross. Who's after that would be, actually I think it's probably Richard now because I just added Richard, but I would be. We're going to remove or disable Richard, but not this moment. and then you save. So now we don't have that. Didn't update it, so it's just like going to say misfire. WebSocket connection was closed. Discord closed. The server sent 1,000. Gateway failed. It's probably because we paused, right? We sat there for too long. And Discord's like, screw you. But came back, and looks like I've got 2 messages actually. Looks like sure why. Maybe a retry. I don't know. But now it comes back and says, hope you enjoyed your meal. Next lunch Friday will be June 14th, 2019. So it didn't change the date because it's like, well, that previous one wasn't over. It'll be Ross's turn to pay. It didn't change anything. Okay. So that's good. Now, what can we get done in a quick amount of time? Let's go to person and public. Oh, I get there. Control C. Oh, it's still firing off. It's still firing off things. Why is it still firing off things? That's interesting. So it fired off again. So we'll call that a failure on the Quartz thing, that it started at that time, but isn't going daily. All right, so where the heck was it? So start at this. Let's go read the parameters. Initialize the new instance of daytime structure to specify year, month, day, hour, minute, second, millisecond. Doesn't define an interval, but it just keeps firing. And it just returns a task. There's no parameter that says, tell it it's done. Right? So it should pass. So somehow or another, this doesn't work the way I want it to work. Start at and with schedule. It's not working the way I want it to work. So maybe that's why you saw on the example that that's commented out. But anyway, it's 2:26. This has been fun. You can see that we can do quite a bit with these things. I think we can make them even more generic. And just take a normal command app or a console app with Mediator's commands and convert them into, by default, into Discord bots that can listen for things. You can apply permissions for whoever you want. And that might be of value. Maybe not. This little app that we've got here provides some value, a small little amount. We're also going to add in some reminders for important dates, like when my visa needs to expire, when my work permit needs to be updated, my 90-day check-ins, things like that, that we can schedule through either Quartz or Hangfire to say, hey, make sure you send out these messages and remind us to do the things that we need to do to save us money and stay in the country. So anyway, there you go. That's it for today. And maybe next week we'll be back to Tangram Crypto, most likely. Or maybe we'll fire up again sometime this week on some more of this Discord bot with a little bit cleaner template. All right. Thank you very much. Until then.